Okay, now we've learned the solo and we've looked at the techniques and looked at the ideas that Peter Green is using, we can start to think about improvisational approaches and taking those ideas, taking the vibe, the heart of what Green is doing and adapting it, making it your own, and understanding how you can then use these ideas outside of this specific musical context. Now, if you recall one of the earlier lessons in this course, we spoke about that musical context. The song is in the key of A major, and it is based really around that A major chord. It is not kind of a dominant A7 chord as we might expect to encounter in a typical 12-bar blues, although Green does move to that chord towards the end of the kind of opening. So it's not your sort of typical blues, and as a result of that, we can't really launch in and play our A minor pentatonic shapes as we might do if we were playing over a dominant based chord progression. If we do that, you're going to get a clash, you're going to hear notes that don't work, and some of it will work, some of it won't, and it'll be very challenging to try and create a framework where you can target those notes that do function well and those that don't. So we're going to use this as a wonderful opportunity for practicing two ideas. Number one would be to target and look at the A major pentatonic scale. And specifically, my recommendation would be to zone in on that box shape that I played in that intro solo and which Green plays in the intro solo. That is kind of the B.B. King box. Now, the B.B. King box in the key of A, if you haven't encountered it before, would be as follows. The 11th fret on the G string, 10, 12, 13 on the B string, and then on the E string, 10, 12, and 14. Now, that 14th fret on the E string is actually just the same as the 11th fret on the G string. It's an octave higher. So what we've got here is we've got a 6-note box, and then one note repeating again at the 14th fret, should you so wish to play it there. And in this little box shape, essentially Peter Green has taken that and kind of shown you all of the notes that work and function really well. So that 11th fret works very well as a kind of launch pad into the box or a note to kind of resolve down to. You've got that 12th fret on the B string, which just sounds wonderful when you bend it, either a full tone up to the 14th or a semitone or half tone up to the 13th. And on the E string, you've got that 12th fret, which works really, really well as a note to bend as well. Now, technically, you could bend the 10th fret on both strings with your first finger to push them up to the tone at the 12th fret, so moving both of them a kind of tone. However, that sort of first finger style bending is something that I personally associate more with Albert King for a slightly more aggressive, bluesy, rock style of feel, as opposed to this warmer, more melodic B.B. King, Peter Green style that we're trying to create here. And that's why, as you can see, I didn't really play much on that 10th fret on the E string. And on the 10th fret on the B string, the tonic, I chose instead to stick on that note and target it as the tonic at the end of my phrases, applying a bit of vibrato. Now, this B.B. King box is just a brilliant shape and idea to get under your fingertips. So as a first step, when you're thinking about playing and soloing and improvising over this track, the B.B. King box would be my first port of call. You can do as I did there in that intro, sort of take the essence of what Green's done, take some of the same phrases even, but just alter them a little bit. Alter where you pause, alter the bending, alter the types of bending. I kind of threw in some pre-bends, for example. Alter how you move out of that framework momentarily to target the minor pentatonic, and so on. You will be absolutely amazed at what you can create in just that box shape. You can come up with so many different ideas, and I would urge you to experiment and play there for a long time. It'll be brilliant, both for creating ideas here and for your blues guitar playing more generally. Now, beyond that, You can play the A major pentatonic scale, and you can play that all over the fretboard. So you could start down here, should you so wish. You could start here, wherever you want. You can try to create ideas there. And I can show you a little bit what that looks like, again, over the track now, but starting somewhere totally different. So there, rather than basing all of the ideas around that kind of B.B. King box, I was very much more focused on where the kind of second shape of the A major pentatonic scale crosses with the first shape of the A minor pentatonic scale, and creating their ideas and shapes and licks all in that box, then just briefly moving up to that kind of B.B. King box before finishing things off again where I started off. And you can take that same idea wherever you want on the fretboard. I personally favor there for a couple of different reasons, which I'll explain in more detail in a second, but you can start wherever you want and try to navigate and move across those scales and really build up familiarity and comfort with the major pentatonic scale, because that tends to never receive quite as much attention as the minor pentatonic scale. And so it's likely that it might take you a bit of time to get comfortable sort of navigating and creating those ideas all over the fretboard. Now, there are two reasons that I recommend sort of sticking or targeting that area specifically when you try to move outside of that B.B. King box. The first is that that's what Peter Green himself does when he's playing different versions of the song. They cut a lot of different versions of this song, recorded, and there's a whole load of bootleg and kind of, sort of bits and bobs from different recording sessions that I've linked to, where you can hear different iterations of the song. They also recorded, but didn't release until many, many years later, a single that was intended for the American market. And on that song, there is an extended and separate solo, totally different from the intro. And in that, Green plays an idea very similar to the one that I played there, and also to the one that I used to close off this solo that you hear in the introduction. That kind of idea, using some of the double stops on the first strings like this. His is slightly different from that, and I kind of took it and adapted it, for my own purposes. But when he moves outside of that B.B. King box in that solo, and again, I've linked a copy of this below so you can listen to the song and get some further ideas, he targets there. So why not learn from the master, take a similar approach and sort of, practice moving between that section of the fretboard and the B.B. King box and seeing what different ideas that you can create. The second reason I recommend sort of targeting and trying that little section out is that there is an opportunity to think about playing the changes here. So, as noted at various different points, the song starts on the chord of A major, then a brief A7, then it goes to D major. So it moves from here to here. And then it moves from there to the diminished chord, to the D sharp diminished or the E flat diminished. Now, when it makes that move to the D major, you can, should you so wish, target notes from the minor A minor pentatonic scale. Now, when we shift from the A major or the A7 to the D major, we can think of that almost as a key change. So we can think about now shifting from the A major scale to the D major scale. And the notes that are contained within the A minor pentatonic scale, A, C sharp, D, E, G, are all contained within the D major scale. And that means that you can use that scale over the chord without creating a clash. Now, as the chord progression then moves on and comes back to the A major, you then want to move off it. So you can't hang around there, because if you do, it'll sound good on the D chord, the D diminished, and then you'll shift back to the A and you'll get those clashes again. So taking this approach can work really well because it sounds good, harmonically it functions. You get to mix the A major and the A minor scale, and the A minor scale is always a nice one for adding a bit more of a blues feel. It is the sound of the blues, so it adds a bit of sort of grit and bite into the sound. And you get to build up that ability to listen to what's happening in the chord changes in the song. So playing the changes is a sophisticated way of soloing, because instead of just sort of taking whatever's happening in the rhythm section and plopping your guitar solo on top, you're really working with the rhythm section to enhance what they're doing, to target similar tones, similar notes, similar movements in the lead part, and that will just lead you to create a more interesting, dynamic, kind of expressive solo. Peter Green is doing that himself in the intro. If we think about those moments where he moves outside of the major pentatonic framework, that's what's happening. He's adding that bluesy feel. He's playing the changes by moving out of that framework for a moment and then moving back in as the chord progression moves on. So Peter Green, is doing that here. You can hear that in action here. But if you think about this kind of playing the changes approach, you're thinking about very sophisticated, bluesy, jazzy players. B.B. King would be one of these. He was very good at playing the changes and making those moves in his playing. Robin Ford, obviously a bit more on the jazz side of the spectrum, but a brilliant player, very, very skilled at doing this. And it is a good and useful skill to cultivate. Now, again, that is why I would recommend, if you're going to try this, starting there, because you're already going to have quite a bit of material to think about, listening for the chords, listening for the movement in the chords. And so why not make life a little bit easier on yourself and think about moving between the second shape of the major pentatonic scale, and the first shape, very familiar shape, of the minor pentatonic scale. So this is what this looks like if I take that kind of A major pentatonic approach, then switch to the A minor briefly, and then kind of back to A major. Now, unless you're at the position when you're really looking to push beyond the pentatonic scale frameworks, both major and minor, I wouldn't worry too much about this for now. There is so much that you can do with the B.B. King box, the major pentatonic scale, tracing that all over the fretboard, thinking about these techniques and ideas, thinking about the feel, really breathing life into all of this, the phrasing, the pausing. There are so many challenges and so many levels that you can break down to improve your playing, create different ideas, and make this sound good. So focus there first to begin with. There is a lot of mileage you can get out of this song and this solo before you need to start thinking about playing the changes. However, if you're looking to advance beyond that, definitely give that a go and let me know if you've got any questions about how to execute it, why it works, or anything else at all I can help with. Otherwise, guys, well done for making it through this solo. It is a beautiful, iconic piece of guitar playing and one that will help you to create and craft a whole range of different skills, as well as that all-important kind of mental approach to solo construction, simplicity, getting mileage out of simple phrases, using repetition, pausing, all of this stuff that is just crucial, whether you're playing you know, Peter Green, Fleetwood Mac, B.B. King, Alvic, whatever it might be, it's going to serve you well. So, good luck. Have fun with this. Have fun with the improvisation over the backing track I've linked below. If you've got any questions at all, you know where to find me. Otherwise, amazing work, and I'll see you soon.